Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it. On the show, Florida continues to look great, as always. Now, reporting more than 15,000 new coronavirus cases, a daily record for the United States. And cases are continuing to grow in the Midwest. We'll talk about that. I'll also take a look at a contentious GOP primary for once. How shocking is that? Also going to take a look at Nathan Robinson on the left-wing mob and cancel culture and political correctness, all that stuff. Have a fun little discussion about that, which could go on for a very long time. Also, how the House Democrats are expanding war, and could Mr. Larry Hogan take the Republicans away from the kind of populist turn that they're on with a big tent party approach. Could all be very interesting, and we are glad to, of course, be discussing it here today. Thank you so much for joining us. But of course, you start with Florida, all that stuff going on. It's great. More than 15,000 new cases of the coronavirus were announced on Sunday in Florida, marking the highest single-day total of known cases. And the day is still, we are doing this today live on Newsflash at just around 8:30. So it is. The fact that we already know 15,000 new cases it's pretty much proving now that Florida is the ground zero in the world for the pandemic, which is quite disturbing. Florida's surge soared past the previous record set in New York of more than 12,000 cases in a day. That occurred in April during the worst outbreak there when testing was scarce, and Florida is reporting far fewer deaths than New York. Florida also saw the single-day records in the counties that include Florida's largest cities, including Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Fort Myers, West Palm Beach, Pensacola, and Sarasota. The U.S. outbreak is growing across 37 straight states. More than 60,000 new coronavirus cases were announced on Saturday, more than any day of the pandemic except for Friday, when the country recorded more than 68,000, a single day record for the seventh time in 11 days is what it's set there. Woohoo! We got it good, folks. This is so great. We love it. We love it. We love it. On Sunday, the World Health Organization reported more than 230,000 new cases, a global record for daily infections, and probably, as we can see, a good portion of that was the United States. And probably Brazil, probably accounted for definitely plus 50% of that new total there. Just when you add those two up, because things are going bad in Brazil and other places in Latin America right now. The country's 7-day death average reached 700 on Saturday, up from 471 on July 5th, but still well below the more than 2,200 deaths the country averaged in each day in mid-April. And 8 states set single-day death records over the last week: Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, and Tennessee. Alaska reached a single-day record on Sunday with a very quaint-seeming more than 110 cases. So, yeah, that is all pretty kind of pretty funny stuff. So it's amusing, but it is what we have to work with today. So, yeah, it's amusing. Well, it's amusing, but it's also pretty horrifying. Actually, it's not. I don't know why I said amusing. It's actually horrifying, but it's kind of just insane that it's come to this. That we have this in the. I do apologize. I was adjusting something, and I just kind of talked out of turn there. I did not in any way mean to apply any kind of amusement of the fact that the coronavirus cases are spreading in any way. I do not think that at all. That's terrifying. And the fact that it's going to be so long before we, A, retain any sense of normalcy, so people in those areas are going to be hit hard. And B, the fact that people are going to die from this, and people who don't deserve to die and have really been the victims of a terrible response in almost every facet of American politics throughout this case. Democratic governors, Republican presidents, Republican senators, uninspiring House leadership on the Democratic side, some governors all over screwing up things in an incredible way, Republican governors screwing up. It is everywhere you look, every branch, every level, every sector of the American government. There is someone royally screwing this up. So the increase here has added a lot of strain on the hospitals. In Miami-Dade County, 6 hospitals have reached capacity as cases spike. The increase in cases caused Mayor Carlos Gimenez to roll back reopening plans by imposing a curfew and closing restaurants for indoor dining. We've definitely had a sharp increase in the number of people going to the hospital and the number of people in the ICU and the number of people on ventilators. We still have capacity, but it does cause me a lot of concern. Yeah, so that is a big place where this thing is growing, and it really, especially in areas where there's a bunch of kind of working class people have to go out a lot, especially black and brown working class people, which overwhelmingly people do not seem to understand that is the face of the working class in this country, are going to be more likely to get hit from this, and in a big way. The surge in cases have been fueled in part by younger people, a segment of the population that have become more mobile in recent weeks. Of course, with the summer starting and everything, everyone's been trying to get out, social distance, and hang out with people, and that has been a big problem. That has been a factor in the lower death count compared to the other places when the virus has likely to have a less severe toll, because people are they may be getting it, but they're quarantining maybe, and because young people are more likely than not to be asymptomatic carriers, they will not make a big deal out of it. It's not hard for younger people, though, coming home to parents or grandparents or working with older co-workers to have it spread. And I think that's what we're seeing. That's really the worrying thing. And that is where deaths are going to kind of, in a very sad way, very unfortunate, very scary way, are going to have to start to tick up, is what we're going to see. Meanwhile, some parts of the Midwest are beginning to look alarming like the South and West did just a month ago. Cases have been trending upward in every Midwestern state except Nebraska and South Dakota. And you better believe after what happened in Mount Rushmore, the cases are probably going to start to trend up. In South Dakota, Minnesota announced highest daily case totals since May on Sunday and Saturday. Ohio, which has been making pretty good progress in fighting the virus, 1,525 new cases on Friday. I apologize for that. Exceeding the previous single-day record it had set back in April. Across the Midwest, states and local officials are locked in contentious partisan debates about reopening and masking ordinances that eerily echo those that occurred in the South and the West just weeks before some emergency rooms began to fill capacity, and businesses were forced to close again. Pretty much exactly what happened in Texas, and we saw people who were. It's kind of a really weird, almost down, up, and down. There was a really a period where, of course, masks did work. And there was a big point where, liberals were being called out for the alarmism of the virus. And people like Tucker Carlson, for example, wanted to call the WHO and be like, of course, there's videos of Tucker Carlson in, early March being like, of course the mask works. Are you crazy? The WHO is just lying to you. And they're trying to, of course, blame it all on Trump and pass on the blame off onto China. That is what they're trying to do. Masks work. And they told you masks didn't work, which is unbelievably stupid. It makes the WHO look incredibly stupid, bad, and pointless. I'm not gonna deny that in any way, shape, or form. But the fact is, for a long time, the right was yes, there was a period. We cannot let them forget this revisionist history, or try to revise history here. There was a big period where, March, April, where the left was or the right was yeah, the masks are good, they are great, and then all of a sudden, if you wore a mask, you would die. And people couldn't breathe. And for example, Bill Mitchell, who's a kind of right-wing radio host that some people may know about, he put the mask on his face and he was within seconds I couldn't breathe. He looks like he's a relatively well-aged older gentleman. He doesn't even have that many, he's not 500 pounds and has some kind of breathing disorder. If you have a problem breathing when you're wearing a mask, you have some sort of respiratory ailment, or you are more out of shape than is humanly possible, or I previously thought was humanly possible. If you're generally happening, and of course the most high thing that happens here is they just lie about it. Yeah, so that is the truth of the matter. So pretty much what you need to know is cases are going up in the South, the West, and the Midwest. So that is pretty. It's no doubt it's a pretty dire picture, I would say, of what is happening, and I think you gotta be very much concerned about a lot of this stuff. So it's definitely something we're going to be keeping an eye on here on future episodes of the show. If you want your voice heard, weigh in, of course, on the Speaker Live chat. We will read your comments, react to your comments on air if you're listening. So do feel free to drop in some cases. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough for listening to programming from the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. It really means a lot. So if you like what you're hearing, please consider supporting us by checking out our merch store available on Spreaker.com/TSWS. The link for it is there. Also, if you like what you're hearing, feel free to leave us a review on wherever or however you listen. You can do it on Spreaker by leaving a positive comment, and of course on iTunes by rating and reviewing us 5 stars, and on whatever possible program or site that you listen to SWRN on. Leave a nice review, leave a good comment, let us know your feedback, and also if it's negative too, I always welcome constructive feedback. Thank you so much for listening, and now let's get back to your show. Still to come here on Newsflash. We take you inside a contentious primary, but on the Republican side for once. We take a look at Nathan Robinson, how the House Democrats are spreading more war with Liz Cheney of all people, and can Larry Hogan, governor of Maryland, take, and by the way, what a interesting looking guy that is, take the Republicans to the distance in the future and take them in a genuinely new direction. So very, very interesting stuff to talk about, and we will be getting into it. But first, a new report here in the Intercept by Matthew Cunningham Cook caught my attention about, as an anti-war Republican waging an aggressive and well-funded campaign in the July 14th primary for the Maine 2nd Congressional District, a mysterious dark money super PAC has spent $345,000 in the last 3 weeks to attack him. So there's an anti-war, and we hear a lot about this type of new Republican populism, kind of represented by people like, I'd say, Josh Hawley maybe in the Senate, in kind of in a weird way, and also I think more conclusively like people like Sagar and Jetty in the Hills Rising. And of course, I have been known to have my doubts about that type of politics and like how sincere it is and how truly like the left wing of the political spectrum should engage with it, should make allies on certain issues, like on things where we both agree. I think why not? Like, why turn down an ally? But when it comes into just thinking how we think and how we deal with these people, they're not on the same side. We have our own side, they have their side. I think that is just a real reality that you cannot ignore. But this Cook political report rates the district as one of the 15 Democratic held toss-up seats in the nation. As the Republican Party faces a raucous and often acrimonious debate between Representatives Thomas Massey and Senator Rand Paul on one end, and former National Security Advisor John Bolton, Senator Tom Cotton, and Representative Liz Cheney, who we will discuss in just a few stories on the show. The race in Maine provides an up-close look at the divisions inside the party and financial backing of each side. On one end of the race is Rand Paul endorsed former state senator Eric Brakey, who, like Paul, is a libertarian and is highly skeptical of U.S. militarism and has been an outspoken critic of Saudi Arabia. This is completely fair, and I think this is something that, we should be working with these people when it comes to something. If they want to do something about Saudi Arabia, if they want to do something about militarism, that is a perfect ally, perfectly acceptable ally to have. But when it comes to giving up your principles to work with these people, I think is a more iffy situation. It can't, sacrificing some things in pursuit of a larger goal, I feel like that's justifiable, but I think it's a kind of case by case, for sure. In most cases would be, I think I would have hedged against. But here's what he says. When it comes to foreign policy, I want us to be realistic, Breakey told Washington Examiner in 2017. I think it's crazy that we have troops in 177 different countries, that we're in Afghanistan 16 years later when the youngest soldiers currently going in there were 2 or 3 years old when we went there in the first place. On the other end is the former